p.m. and the Spring Lake Board of Commissioners regular meeting is now called to order. I would like to invite Pastor Shannon to the podium to lead us in our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Please stand and join us if you choose to.
Let's go to the Lord. Our Father and our strong God, this evening we just say thank you. Thank you for another day. Thank you for bringing us through this day to this time and this place, Father God. We know that this time and place was ordained by you. And so, Father God, let everything that's said and done here be decent and in order. Let the business of your hand be taken care of, Father God. And Father God, keep us mindful of those, Father God, that you've appointed to lead this city, Father God. Lord, bless and keep them, strengthen and encourage them, Father God. And let them know, Father God, not to be weary in well-doing. For in due season they will reap if they faint not. And so, Father God, we just thank you and we honor you, Father God. Let everything be done according to your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. I will now call for any additions or deletions to the agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to add the resolution for Juneteenth. I'm sorry, the proclamation for Juneteenth. And secondly, a proclamation for the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary.
Awesome. Are there any other additions or deletions? Seeing none, I'll call for an approval to the agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved.
Commissioner Thompson.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I'll now call for the approval of the consent items, the draft minutes of the May 12th, 2025 regular meeting, the May 19th special meeting, and the May 27th special meeting. Commissioner Chadwick?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And we will now move on to our public comment section, remembering that there are only 3 minutes for each speaker. The lights on the screen will notify you of your remaining time. And again, the board will not respond to any questions or comments taken during this time. I would like to invite Ms. Sanford to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
What's my name?
We all know.
My name is Betty Sanford, and I live right here in Spring Lake. And it's so good to see all of you, and I want to say, praise God. Listen, just have a few things. I believe you all got the pictures that I sent to you. The town manager, I'm sure you got it, and I would like to hear from you in a letter as soon as possible as to what is going to be going on with this. Also, want to talk about the wires in the road. There's some wires in the road on Deerfield, and then there's on another street, there's some wires. And they've been on that road for quite a while, and I want to know the purpose of that wire on the road. The other thing is the safety signs for the children. I asked about that when I had the last meeting. And we have children that run in the road, and they don't look where they're going. They're just running in the road on their little scooters and stuff like that. I don't want anybody getting hurt or getting killed, because I'm going to get with the police, because they need to be on the road too, because the people are doing more than 25. That's what it's supposed to be, 25. But they are doing 30 and 40 and 50, even over those speed bumps, okay? That's the thought, and those wires on the road, that we need to get those things taken care of. And there's some boxes, electrical boxes that are down. They're just torn down, and they're on the side of the road in people's yards. I want to know why that's there. You know, we need to take care of our community, and then anything that looks like it might be a danger to children or adults for that matter, we need to take care of that. And we need to get the road fixed, because people will be almost to hit each other, especially when it's raining. And we need to look into those things as soon as possible. Thank you. You have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. All right, we will now move on to our presentations, and June is a very, very active month, and so we have, this is so cool with the mics, whatever they did to the mics, they sound really good. Thank you, staff. We're not used to this. So again, June is a really, really active month, and Spring Lake is an inclusive town, and we want to make sure that we highlight what's happening in the world, in our community. And so we want to take time to honor, first, it is LGBTQ Pride Month for the month of June. It is also the month for Juneteenth celebrations. And it is also the Army's 250th anniversary. And with us being a military town, that is a really, really big deal for our community, seeing as we have three veterans right here on our board. And in honor of the 250th military or Army anniversary, Commissioner Thompson has offered to lead us in the military or in the Army song. So if you guys know it, we're going to take 5 minutes to say happy birthday to the Army and sing the Army song. I'm going to stand with you guys. If you're a veteran, you can stand with us too. That's right. Okay. Ready?
First to fight for our right and to build the nation's might, and the Army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the Army goes rolling along. Man is high, high, hey, the Army's on its way. Count all the days, loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the Army goes rolling along.
Thank you all for your service. It was an honor to serve. Okay, yeah, that was it. We didn't sound as good as our next presentation. Dr. Denise Murchison Payton, who was also honored with the Longleaf Pine Award from the governor. We wanted to make sure that, again, that is the highest award given out in the state of North Carolina, and Dr. Payton was honored for that, along with other prestigious notoriety. And I'd love to invite you to the podium to receive this proclamation that I'm going to read, and I'd love for you to tell us a bit more about what's happening or what you've received, because it's a very distinguished list. And I want to make sure that our Spring Lake residents are recognized. I call her our Spring Lake songbird. And so let's give her a round of applause as she comes. So I'm going to read this proclamation to Dr. Payton. Whereas the town of Spring Lake is proud to honor Dr. Denise Murchison Payton for her remarkable achievement in receiving the Order of the Longleaf Pine Award from the governor in June of 2024. And whereas the Order of the Longleaf Pine is one of North Carolina's highest honors awarded to individuals who have proven record of exemplary service to their community and state. And whereas Dr. Payton is a respected music educator and author residing in Spring Lake, whose dedication to music education and the arts has made a significant impact on our community. And whereas she is well known for her extensive experience in choral music, having served with distinction as director of choral activities at Fayetteville State University, where she nurtured the musical talents of countless students. And whereas Dr. Payton also holds the esteemed position of Minister of Music at Bethel AME Zion Church in Spring Lake, where she shares her gifts and enriches the worship experience through music. And whereas her influence extends far beyond her immediate roles, as she is a sought-after presenter who has collaborated with various educational institutions, including the Franklin County Public Schools, to enhance the music programs and inspire the next generation of musicians. And whereas Dr. Payton's unwavering dedication to music is its transformative power, and her commitment to inspiring others is evident in her diverse roles and numerous accomplishments throughout her career. Now, therefore, the Town of Spring Lake Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims and recognizes a recognition of Dr. Denise Murchison Payton, celebrating her contributions to music education and her outstanding achievements in receiving the Order of the Longleaf Pine. We applaud her efforts and influence, and we are grateful for her ongoing dedication to enriching the community through gifts of music, in witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the Town of Spring Lake to be affixed this 9th day of June, 2025. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to present you with this first, and then I'm going to let you.
Okay. My son. Talk loud enough for you. We did learn how to do that. I want to thank you, the board, and for the mayor pro tem, and all of you who thought that I was worthy of this. I don't take anything lightly. I was raised right here in Spring Lake. I don't let anyone say I'm from Fayetteville. Because I was born right here in Spring Lake, graduated from Pine Forest Senior High School 50 years ago, June the 6th, 1975. I have been blessed. Many of the things that I plan to do with my life, people say God has a sense of humor. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. I placed in the Metropolitan Opera audition, so I was going to just be on the stage and sing and sing and sing and sing. And I did a presentation, and one of my professors says, I know you can make it as a singer, but you'd be a great teacher. And I told him, I said, I'm never teaching anybody anything, anywhere at all. And then, of course, life happens. And I had to come home and help care for my father. My father passed away. Then I helped care for my mother. My mother passed away. And so I was here. And so I went to Fayetteville State, took up the education requirements to become a teacher, because I have a vocal performance degree, not an education degree. And thank God for being raised in Spring Lake. And so I didn't party. I went to class. And I was able to pass the test for the National Teachers Exam. So thus became a teaching career. And I started my career in Cumberland County, right over there at Spring Lake Junior High School.
Yes. Yes.
And have taught every child in Spring Lake.
Yes. Yes.
I can't go in Walmart or anywhere without someone saying, hey, Mom, which is wonderful. But I did there till 2008, and the choir director, I traveled with Fayetteville State's choir as their soprano soloist. So when the choir director got ready to leave, he said, I think you'd be the best one to take my place. And that's how I ended up being the director of choral activities at Fayetteville State University. And so I gave 16 years of my life to Fayetteville State, so I have a total of 44 years of teaching in the state of North Carolina. I'm very, very honored. I'm very, very touched. I was just raised to try to give. And sometimes, as you know, when you're a giver, you give more than you receive. But I quit worrying about that, and I try to make a difference in the lives of the people that I touch and the students that I touch. And it doesn't matter to me who they belong to. I chastise them. Y'all might be scared of them. I'm not. I chastise them, tell them what they need to do. So I just want to thank you for this honor, and I will cherish it. And the other thing that, to my surprise, I can't even remember the date, but they surprised me at the other church that I attend. After I leave my church, I go to Bishop Bryant's church, and there was someone there, and I was wondering why Stephon Ferguson was there. You know, I just said, oh, he's visiting. And he had a proclamation from President Joseph R. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris to Dr. Denise Murchison Payton for excellent work in the field of music education. So I received that medallion from the president and the vice president, and so it let me know that some of the sleepless nights and some of the hard times were worth it. But my heart is full, and I just want to say thank you, and I support you, and I support my town, and I do whatever you ask me to do, whenever you ask me to do it. So thank you, and I just want to recognize my children. They still my babies. I know they're grown, but it's my daughter, my oldest child, Jeray Payton, who is a music educator and music performer as well, and my son, who is a minister of music and music educator at Reed Ross Classical High School. So it kind of, we call the Payton's a family business. Music is a family business. So thank you for this time, and thank you very much for the award. I think everyone pray.
Thank you. We needed that feel-good prep before we do our next presentation. Mr. Overton, statement of net position update for June 30th, 2021 audit.
Brace yourselves.
Fiscal year, first I hate to follow Mrs. Payton. Now I'm here to give you the bad news. Before we can complete the audit for fiscal year 22, we have to get beginning balances for fiscal year 21 for the auditors. So I've prepared financial statements for fiscal year 21. In order to do that, we had to make a number of significant and material corrections to the last audit of fiscal year 20. But hopefully we've got those done now. So I'm going to go over this pretty quickly. If you look at Exhibit 1, this is your statement of net position or your balance sheet. Governmental activities in the first column. That is the general fund, Spring Lake property acquisitions, Spring Fling, the street capital project, all of your, and a recreation capital project. It's all your governmental funds combined. Business type activities in the second column. That is your water and sewer fund, sanitation fund, and stormwater fund. These are the funds where you charge your customers to provide the service. Whereas the governmental funds are supported mostly by property taxes, sales tax, franchise tax, and grants. Water proprietary funds or business funds are supported by charges to the customers. Okay, we'll start at the top. You see cash and cash equivalents at the end of 21 in the last column, 1,900,000. Restricted cash and cash equivalents. This is cash that has to be spent for a particular purpose. 1,131,000. So at that time, we have about $3 million cash in total at the end of 21. Look down a little bit further, the line item that says internal balances. Negative 500,000 in governmental and 500,000 positive in the business activities. That is where the water and sewer fund loaned the general fund and one of the capital project funds $500,000 in order to pay their bills. Okay? Go to the next page. Okay. All right. The line that says total liabilities, remember I said we had 3 million in cash. Total liabilities at about middle way of the page in 2021, 21 million. So that's a difference of $18 million more that the town owed than they had in cash at the time. Now, notice one of those lines, total pension liability, 2 million, that's our share of the state's pension. LEO, SSA, that's a law enforcement officer separation allowance pension. Owed to our police officers, they retire, that's $491,000. And the big one, total OPEB liability, that stands for other post-retirement employee benefits. And that is your retiree health insurance. The actuarial study for that shows a liability of 5.2 million that year, or total liabilities of 21. Now look at the bottom of the page, debt position, or what you normally think of as fund balance. A big chunk of it, 8.9 million, is the value of your land, building, and equipment minus your debt. That's your investment in capital assets. Next big section of your fund balance is restricted. Stabilization by state statute, 1.4 million. That is equivalent to your accounts receivable. By state statute, you cannot spend money you haven't collected yet. So that is the receivable for sales tax and franchise tax and other revenues at the end of the year that would be collected in the subsequent months following June 30th. Restricted for streets, that's the unspent power bill money, 500,000. Public safety, that is some money that's set aside as your safer grant money. It is some money that was set aside for debt for the fire station that hadn't been spent yet. USDA debt service, you have to set aside 1 year's payment on any USDA loans in reserve. Now for the bad news. After you take out the restricted fund balance, our unrestricted fund balance was negative 7.2 million in the governmental funds.
How much is that, Jimmy?
Negative 7.2 million. And that's because you see how much your liabilities in the governmental funds were almost 16 million. And your cash in the governmental funds was not even 1 million. So, anyway, your total, including the business activities, did have a positive fund balance of 7.7 million. So your total net position was 6.2 million. You see the governmental funds are in really bad shape in 2021. Let's go over to the next page, statement of activities. In the first column, you see your expenses for all your governmental funds. Total of 8.4 million in the governmental funds. In the water, sewer, sanitation, and stormwater fund, total expenses of 4.5 million, or total expenses of just under 13 million for that year. Go to the next page of Exhibit 2. Down toward the bottom of the page, you will see general revenue. Property taxes that year were 3.2 million. Right under that, unrestricted investment earnings. We had $3 million in the bank in 21. Now in 21, interest rates were at historic lows, okay? The town only earned $908 in interest for the entire year.
Wow.
That is 0.03%, not even 0.1%. So, now, in comparison, that's for the entire year. For the month of May this year, we earned $52,000 in interest for the month.
And they get
900 for the entire year.
Wow.
Well, that's the difference between 5% and 1/100%, because that's what was being paid 4 years ago by the banks, next to nothing. And also is such an increase in our cash now. 3 million 4 years ago, 14 million now. So those two combined has a pretty significant, plus we're doing a better job of investing our money. Okay. Second, all right. Now look a little further. change in that position. And the governmental funds had a net loss of $1,008,000 that year. The business activities had a loss of $172,000 for a combined total loss in that year of $1,180,000. Okay. Now, just below that, you see the prior year fund balance of $7.9 million, and you see I had to make $580,000 of corrections to the prior year audit report to get the beginning balances from 2020 correct. Okay. So ending net position of $6.2 million. Let's go to Exhibit 3. Okay. In the third column there, where it says major fund, general fund,
Third
the
column.
total cash in the general fund at June 30th, 21 was $225.
Right here. Oh, that's a typo.
Cash in the general fund that year was $225. That was the cash in the petty cash box that Renee has to make changes when you come pay your water bill.
Can you clarify again, how much should we have had in our general fund during that time?
Our goal is 35% of expenditures. Our expenditures are close to, now that year they were $8.5 million. Right now, our budget's about $10 million in the general fund. Our goal is to have an unassigned fund balance of 35%. Is that correct? So that'd be $3.5 million. We had $225.
One more time, $3.5 million is what we were supposed to have,
Well, not that year would have been about $3 million, but still, it's,
and we had $225. This is what we came into.
this is what you inherited. Okay. Look a little further down, okay. Due to other funds, in the last column, $500,000. That's where the general fund had to borrow $360,000 from the water fund to pay its bills. And then,
Plus the 500 you talked about?
no, that's part of the 500. 360 in the general fund plus non-major funds, that would be one of your capital project funds, had borrowed money from the general fund of 139. That's a total of 500. Okay. Now let's go down to fund balance at the bottom of the page. Unassigned fund balance in the general fund was negative $1,489,000. Our goal, as we said, would have been 35%. That is negative 17%. And the way you get that is you take that and divide it by general fund expenditures of $8.5 million, and it's a negative 17%. All the governmental funds combined, you had a fund balance unassigned of $1,009,000 deficit. Okay. Now you also see all your restricted fund balance. Again, it's restricted by state statute. That's your receivables, your pile bills, your public safety, and debt service reserves. Monies we have to set aside. Non-spendable, that's your prepaid expenses. Can't spend because they've already been spent. Okay. Let's go to Exhibit 4. We're getting close to these, sorry. Exhibit 4, total revenues in the general fund, $7.5 million. Total expenses were $8.5 million, for a net loss of just under $1 million. Now that year, the general fund borrowed $1,150,000 for the purchase of 2 fire trucks. The 2 fire trucks would be included in that $5.4 million of public safety expenditures. Now, okay, and then we have a few transfers to other funds. Part of that transfer to other fund is a transfer to Spring Lake property acquisition to pay interest on the debt for a few months. Okay, then the really bad news. Below other financing sources, the next line, extraordinary item, loss of $334,000.
Is that additional to what was already found?
No, that is what was found, that Most of that loss and stuff was booked by Greg Isley and his staff. Okay, that's when they went back and reconciled the bank account for 221. I didn't find that they did. Okay, that's 334,000 of money lost that year. Okay, total fund balance in general fund 607,000 at the end of the year. Okay, again, 607,000. That's your fund balance divided by your total expenditures. You would like that to be 35%. It is about 7%, which is less than the 8% minimum. 8% being 1 month's expenditures. Okay. Also, in the third column there, you see loan proceeds of $1 million. That was a loan from the South River Electric Membership Corp to build the Manchester Fire Station. And you see they spent about $950,000 in that fund, in that fund and the SAFER grant to pay for firemen and the fire station. Okay, let's go to Exhibit 5. Before we do that, let's go back to Exhibit 3. Something I want to point out with Exhibit 2. Okay. All right. Under assets, the next to the last line here at the top of the page, due from component unit, $337,000. That is the amount that the town loaned to Spring Lake Property Acquisition to acquire the first 2 tracts of land that they purchased prior to the loan closing. Spring Lake still owes that back to the town. And you see under liabilities due to primary government, the same number. Under Spring Lake, that is the amount they owe back to the general fund, $336,000. Of course, Spring Lake has 0 cash. Their only asset is the land and buildings that they purchased.
Just to be clear, you mean Spring Lake Property Acquisition?
Right. Spring Lake Property Acquisition has no assets. Okay, all right. Okay. Let's go to Exhibit 8, last page. Down at the bottom of the page, you see your change in net position or your net income or loss for your 3 proprietary funds. The water and sewer fund had a net loss of $128,000. Sanitation fund had a net loss of $90,000. The stormwater fund did have a net income of $45,000. So a combined total for all 3 funds of $172,000. That is my summary of the financial statement for the fiscal year ended June 21. I am currently today, I wrote the management discussion and analysis. I should have the footnotes this week, and we will be sending this to the auditors and to the LBC by Friday. And I will also send y'all a complete copy with all the footnotes and stuff. But it's not good.
Wow.
But there has been a vast improvement since then. Like I say, our current cash in the bank at the end of May was $14,600,000. So we have dug our way out of a huge hole in the last 4 years.
Make sure you clarify that as well. How much of that is unrestricted?
Not a whole, not a lot.
No.
Of that, we got much more cash, but it's still, the general fund still does not have anywhere near 35% fund balance, unreserved fund balance. We have $1.5 million restricted for power bill, which we are in the process of spending now. Of course, you can't spend your accounts receivable. You have money set aside for debt payments. Again, it's much better than, it's not negative now, but it's not near 35% either. But at least it is positive.
I will show later that it's roughly about 7% of unrestricted. So you've got about $684,000 of unrestricted funds and fund balance, which is equivalent to about 7% or 1 month of operating
1 month.
expense cash.
And it needs,
The rest of it's restricted.
and we want it to be 4 months.
Right.
Okay. Any questions?
Oh, wow. That was a lot to chew on, and this is what we inherited. So I know a lot of times the community was saying, well, we don't see anything happening and nothing's happening, there's no movement, do this, fix that. And we've spent these past 3.5 years doing just that. We had, as y'all heard me say it from here, but now you actually see the numbers. We had no money. We really couldn't buy business cards. It was that bad. And now we're at a place where we don't have a whole lot, but we have something. We are moving forward. This is the progress that you hadn't seen. This was the movement that you hadn't seen. And so now we can actually start to make plans so that you can see the tangible things happening, the streets being paved, the pipes being repaired, services that we can now give you or work towards giving you a better quality of life. But we had to get these numbers, and these numbers are tough to swallow. But again, I commend the staff for working diligently, the LGC for coming in and beginning the process. But you guys have taken it to a place that we hadn't seen in a good long time. So I am so very, very proud. Although, again, these numbers are tough to hear, I'm so proud of the work that was done in this community, the diligence and long hours that the staff has put in. So thank you for this. And now we are on our way to being able to complete our audits and taking the next step to becoming fiscally viable, fiscally stable again. So I will take Mayor Pro Tem, followed by Commissioner Laughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I first want to thank all of you, Mr. Rory, Mr. Overton, Renee, Jason, all of you, all the staff. First of all, I would love for us to give the staff a hand.
Please.
Everybody has been working as a team to turn all of this around, and it hasn't been easy, I promise. And we have worked sometimes till late in the night and early in the morning to make changes that will make this town better. This is my hometown. This is where my mother was born. That is my cousin. There's a joke that's called Cooper's Cousins. Well, those three are my cousins back there. And so this is important to me. So I really appreciate all of the work. I know you all have been working late into the night. Mr. Overton, you know numbers like nothing I've ever seen, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Laughlin?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Overton, one of the things that you had said was the better investing, the $52,000. That is huge. It takes leadership in order to dig out of this hole that we inherited. Ms. Sanford, I kept watching you as the numbers were rolling and your head was spinning and your eyes were just kind of at awe. This is what we inherited. This is what we've been fighting for you, for the residents out there, to make Spring Lake a better place. It has not been easy. It's been tough. There's many things that we wanted to do, but we had to concentrate on what we did. On the stormwater, we couldn't even repair we were putting Band-Aids on water pipes out there. And it's biting us in the rear end right now because for a couple of years, we just did not have the money in order to do that. Now we're out there having to fix them, and we are fixing them. But it's because of the leadership that the town, that the board, that our employees, that our department heads have been diligently working to do that we can do. So thank you. And when you were talking about the better investing of the $52,000, I don't think you heard me, but I said thank you. And
Well, it's not that hard. I mean, all of our money is invested in North Carolina Capital Management Trust. And unfortunately, 4 years ago, their interest rates were 0.1% also. But unfortunately, we didn't earn even a 0.03%.
But Ms. Sanford,
They're paying 5% a month now.
But Ms. Sanford, I want you to realize we were down to $225 cash for the town. So it was in dire. When we talk about we were close to losing our charter, that's what we were facing. And we pulled out of it together. So, Mr. Roy, Mr. Overton, Staff, department heads, thank you.
Commissioner Blasio?
You can have a seat, sir. So, the main thing is, why are we talking about what our books look like in 2021 and it's 2025? The reason is because we knew that when we were elected, we had bad books, and we didn't know the depth until tonight, you know. And so we know that the LGC, the state, came over and took over the books here in Spring Lake, and one of the things that they did when they decided to do that was waive our audit requirement for the year 2021. Why did that happen? This is why it happened. It was a mess. So Mr. Overton, who's been in his position less than a year, has gone through this line by line to get us these numbers so that we can complete. We're still behind on our audits. We're still talking about 21, 22, 23, 24. We've still got audits to complete, but we didn't have a starting point until he was able to complete these numbers. So I challenged you big time last meeting, Mr. Overton. You delivered phase 1. But thank you. And that's why we're talking about these numbers. Yeah, that's why we're talking about these numbers. So,
Now, again, thank you guys. Thank you, Mr. Overton. This is a lot. But again, this is what progress looks like. So, we will now move on to some more numbers. The numbers for our Town of Spring Lake fiscal year 2025-26 budget, and we will now begin our public hearing, and I will pass it to Mr. Rory for our budget presentation.
I'm going to start with just a couple of little one-liners. We started out over a year ago working on this budget today. Y'all been working on this budget today for 3 years. Everything from getting back to this financial net position. And one statement that I remember talking about with staff was, if you find yourself in a hole, quit digging and let's build a ladder. All right, we want to get up out of this hole. And so with that, we're continuing trying to move forward. And the numbers are real, they're hard. And so I would like to highlight that with just a little quick reading from the budget message that you will find on our website already. We posted it last week. As we are all aware, immediate economic conditions must be dealt with while simultaneously focusing on the long-range financial condition of the town. This proposed budget is intended to reflect the results from numerous discussions with and between commissioners, staff, and the residents of the town of Spring Lake. As most local governments experience budget difficulties for various reasons, the fact is that contemporary budget preparation and adoption is a trying process, and most everyone involved in this process acknowledges that it requires complicated decisions. These decisions have an effect on the operations of the town, stretch our capacity, and require extensive prioritization, but all with one goal of bringing the staff and board together in order to assure the long-term vitality of the town of Spring Lake, this collection of us. This collection of us is here today to share the manager's proposed budget. We've had multiple meetings on this, we've had multiple conversations, and so I'm just going to try to be as quickly and briefly as I can. We have posted it on our website for review. It's available for review and available to share. The budget process itself is driven by statute. We typically, all the department has to submit their funding request by April 30th of each year to the town manager. I have to prepare those requests and present them to the board, a proposed balanced budget by statute. The revenues and the expenses have to be equal. By statute, I have to present a balanced budget. And I did that by June 1st of last week, which brings us to this point of statutory. After that, we have to have one public hearing. That's where we're at tonight on June 9th. And finally, the hope is to have the governing board adopt the budget, making appropriations and levying taxes for the budget year by July 1st. I think that our goal is to get this back on the agenda for adoption by June 23rd. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate it. Let's focus on what it means when we talk about vitality. We spend a considerable amount of time in those discussions, and I like to keep bringing it up about what's our strategy, what are our focuses, what are they going to be on. And the board, the staff, some residents who attended some of these meetings have identified 4 particular focus areas. And I'll talk a little bit about those with nuggets. I won't go into a lot of detail. But if you think about it, the very number 1 priority is a safe, reliable, and sustainable water, sewer, and stormwater systems. To be blunt and pretty candid, that's not what we have. We got to do something different because we keep doing the same thing. We're going to get the same results. Revitalize the town infrastructure. Now that includes things other than just water and sewer projects. It includes everything from roads to parks as well. Then a safe and vibrant and healthy community. That is a component of public safety. It's a component of a lot of different things about our ordinances and the provisions from noise, from everything that we deal with day to day. And then finally, economic development. How do you take and improve the economy locally if you don't address these other issues on the forefront? Because there's no magic pill, no magic bullet. If so, everybody would be doing it. And so we have to do everything we can to increase the capacity and the ability and the desire for people to actually want to live here. The budget ordinance, this was presented to you in your documents last week as well. At the end of the day, this is really simple. The budget ordinances is the manager's proposed budget for the general fund and the general fund only is balanced at $9,579,800. That $800, all of those numbers are rounded, so it's not absolute. It's close enough that the revenues and the expenses are in balance. Now, I'll talk a little bit about those revenues. Where do they come from? The highest source of the revenue for the general fund is the property tax. And so it's generating 51% of the revenue needed to cover the expenses, whether it's public safety, particularly fire, police, the streets department, not necessarily Powellville funds for paving, but streets departments, all of those things. 51% of the revenue comes from property taxes. Another one in this proposed budget is 22% comes from the sales tax. We'll talk a little bit more about that and why that has declined dramatically. And you'll see other things, permit fees, miscellaneous transfers. These all just build into the stack of what the revenue is needed to generate $9,579,800 to cover the expenses of our operations, day-to-day operations. Everybody knows, I received an email today discussing this very issue, that the property values are typically flat over time. They don't reevaluate or revaluate those until every 7 to 8 years. What's coming? 8 years? And so you can do them on a different schedule, but Cumberland has decided to do that every 8 years, which is the maximum term that you can do. And you'll see there that the values themselves were static for 21, 22, 23, and 24. And then you see this 60% increase in 25 for this levy. That has a significant impact on the property tax revenue. Make no mistake about it. One way of simply looking at that is that means it's a 60% increase in the property tax revenue over last year as this year. Keep it simple. The second that I talked about was that 22% right there in terms of sales tax in the gray area is lower coming into this budget year than it has ever been. Spring Lake, Cumberland County, the sales tax is a county-wide sales tax. The commissioners get to decide how to distribute that in one of 2 mechanisms, either population or ad valorem, which means according to value, or property tax. So the way it had been distributed was that we were getting it based on population, and we were 2% of the county's population. Cumberland County has made the decision to switch to the ad valorem or property tax basis, and we're only 1%. of the value in the county. Therefore, we're going to lose 1%, or we have a reduction of 50% in our sales tax revenue going into next year. That's significant in that it impacts us a loss of about $1.7 million in sales tax revenue from last year going into this year. So the property tax, even though it went up 60%, it's not up near enough to cover the loss of the sales tax distribution. So we have to keep that in mind as we move forward and start thinking about it. Now, we've had a lot of conversations here just recently about interest rates and inflation. Keep in mind, the more money you have in the bank, cash, right? You get more, even if it's at 0.1%, if it's $10, than if it's $1. So the whole idea of this fund balance is to have some type of way of covering your expenses if you have a tornado, a storm event, or something that all of a sudden you can't take and generate the revenues, or you're not getting the revenues. You got to have cash on hand to fund operations. So the police still work, the fire department still works, and so we got to keep those things in mind. So when you look at this increase in sales tax, it doesn't mean that people are just going out spending more. You get an increase in sales tax if you have an inflationary impact on everything that you're buying. And so as it goes up year over year over year, you'll see a sales tax increase as well. That doesn't mean that people are spending more. You'll note there that I showed a modest 3% growth in our sales tax. Just a modest 3% growth would generate next year an additional $48,000. That's it. So 3% growth in our total sales tax generated $48,000. Where we're earning $50-some thousand by having that cash on hand, right? Those investments, trucks. General fund revenues, ad valorem taxes. This is another way of expressing it. This shows up in your budget ordinances. Your budget ordinance is not graphs; it is actual numbers. And so the ad valorem tax represents $5,354,704. The unrestricted intergovernmental revenues, in this case, sales tax, is $1,760,000. Last year it eclipsed 3.5. So there's your loss right there, boom, just like that. You're trying to make up the difference. But the total general fund revenues are $9,579,800, because that includes all the other stuff. There's your interest earned. You'll see it there's investment earnings at $170,000. So the more of that you pull out of fund balance, your interest income, your investment earnings are going down. So you're pulling both sources. You got to be you got to protect the cash. That's just all there is to it. General fund expenditures. These are grouped. They're not department by department. I will show that. We'll go through it a little bit. But 67% of our expenditures are public safety. Police department and fire department. 67% it goes to public safety. General government is 19%. Economic development 1%. Transportation, in this case, we're talking about streets, not cars and transporting people with streets and pavement. And then debt service represents about 3%. We'll talk a little bit more about debt service and expenditures as we move forward as well. Specifically, to pick on the governing body, of that $9,579,800, $118,000 is for the governing body. $305 is for administration. Finance is $688. You'll see the police department is $3,626,000. The fire department is $2,125,000. And then finally, down towards the bottom, you'll see the debt service, $230 for principal and $115 for interest. So that's about $335,000. We'll talk about that later. But with the revenues, estimated revenues, with a property tax rate of 74.1 cents, that's maintaining the same property tax rate. You generate, and the sales tax, you generate $9,579,800 in revenues, and your expenses are $9,579,800. Therefore, you have a statutory balanced budget. The revenues and the expenditures are equal. General fund highlights, in my budget message, I'm proud to announce, and quite pleased that in a lot of cases, your employees might show up on the liability side. I want you to recognize that you can do nothing without them. Okay, good, bad, or indifferent, they have good days, they have bad days, but at the end of the day, you can't do a thing without them. And so they cannot be considered liabilities, they have to be considered assets, they have to be treated the same. And so I'm glad to be able to recommend a 2.3% cost of living adjustment for all employees except for the town manager. All employees except for the town manager, the 2.3% across the board COLA adjustment. If you see, except fire, we're doing something different with them. You see that down there in the list as well about the market rate adjustment. They're getting a little bit more. For the record, the fire department is about $4,000 or more. Their salary is 36 versus 40,000 for competing agencies within 30 minutes of us.
That's correct.
And it's still, that's 40,000 mark is still low compared to some of them. The new code enforcement officer, we talk about the strategic focus areas, one of them being the infrastructure, the safe community. We are recommending hiring a new code enforcement officer. We have identified over 160 blighted properties throughout the town of Spring Lake. That is in every zone, in 4 zones that the police department uses. It's not what you see when you look out your front door. It's what we see when we do windshield surveys throughout the community. So you might live in a great community, I don't know, but there are other communities that are struggling, other subdivisions that are struggling, and we need to address those in some form or fashion. And so the only way to do it is going to be to focus on it. So if you keep in mind that you have blighted properties, that is suppressing the value, which is suppressing the revenue, which is constraining your operations. And so it's a vicious cycle that you got to be thinking of. Traveling and training, 23,000. We're trying to do some facility improvements. One of the ways that, just to be blunt, that we're able to recover, to say we're in a much better position. Now you got 684,000 unrestricted instead of $225. But how do you get there? By doing nothing. It's the bottom line. You couldn't do anything. And so everything is being able to generate and trying to save to get that fund balance up. So, and you are deferring maintenance. You are deferring fixing water lines. We're putting Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids. We're just trying to, we can save a lot by doing nothing. But that does not ensure the vitality of the town of Spring Lake.
Sure is it.
So we've got to keep focused on it. In this case, we're looking at facilities here, hot water heaters, general facility improvements throughout the town. We're also looking at trying to replace 7 police patrol vehicles and 3 F-150s in buildings. All of that will generate through the debt service, just to be able to borrow the money to buy police vehicles. We got to get permission from local government. We're still on the unit assistance list, so we're still going to have to approach that. That's the general fund highlights. It is balanced. Of course, there's all kinds of other little things in there, papers and things, what have you, if you look at it. It is a balanced budget by statute at $9,579,800,000. Same focus areas. They don't change. But now we switch over to the enterprise funds, or what Jimmy refers to as business-like activities. So I was talking to someone today about this concept of profit. And he basically said, well, you don't go into the grocery store and tell them what they're going to sell you X product for. Mine was, I would never suggest you go into a business and tell them what they should sell something to you for. I go into the business with what I plan on spending, but not necessarily what I think they should sell it to me. If there's no margin, there's no mission. They have to operate at a profit, or things just don't work, fall apart. And So our enterprise funds are set up that way, highlighted by these pictures, from sanitation to the stormwater to our water and sewer as well. And so those have to operate on balanced budget. You'll see in this net position from 21 where the enterprise fund, the water and sewer fund, okay, loaned money into the general fund to cover their bills. Okay? That's not the way it works. It's not a business operation. And so they got to be a self-supporting business and operate. Last week, this is new information, but it's also old information. We are currently doing what's called an asset inventory assessment of our water and sewer. It is not a complete assessment because we're not doing smoke testing on every manhole. Okay? But we run into a couple of problems, and everybody's aware of this. And so I wanted to put this in there just so everybody could think about what does it mean to have a sustainable water and sewer system. And I'm going to highlight that one little piece there about the water tank. If you'll notice up there, we got approximately 65 miles of water main. How many of those miles have a pinhole leak? I don't know. And how much of it is leaking? Okay? I know we budget to purchase 20 million, but we're purchasing 30 million a month, give or take. And so, but you'll see here in some of these things that water loss is at 50% of a million purchased per day. So somewhere we're losing 500,000 gallons. Okay? Now that's just very simple math. It's not absolute, it's not correct. It might be 498,000 gallons instead of 500. But we're counting. All right, we're counting. Our storage is limited to 750,000 gallons. So if you're purchasing 1 million a day, your only storage capacity is only 750,000 gallons. So you're purchasing more than you can store in the water tank. That brings us to that point about the two highlighted sections. You'll see the total down there for project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those projects are listed out basically from, you can see them highlighted there, the different locations and where they're at. So I don't want to just call any project out specifically, but they're everywhere. They're all over. And so right now, ballpark estimate in today's dollars for the water and the water alone is $38 million. Now talk about the sewer lines, double it. All right, so that's where this number comes from of $70 to $80 million of improvements, because a couple things are happening. So the water lines themselves are leaking. The sewer lines are getting what's called infiltration, I&I. And so now we're having to treat more water at the plant than actually what we're having should be coming in there. It's just washing in, right? It's just washing in. It's a beast. And so the question you have to ask, if your storage capacity is 750 and you've got the need for a water tank, now why focus on the water tank? Well, for one reason, it's the smallest project. Okay, that don't mean it's low-hanging fruit, but the importance of that water tank, it serves two purposes. It is to provide storage for high demand periods, and it's also to supply pressure during high demand periods. And so you don't need 750,000 gallons all night and 60 psi on your system. But when everybody gets up at 7, 8 o'clock, 5, whatever time you get up, everybody decides to take a shower, now all of a sudden you're pulling volume and pressure out of that system. And so if you don't have enough of that in play, that you're going to have all these low pressure issues all over town. The fire department realizes it already when we talk about the hydrant flows, the plants we get out of apartment complexes. So one conversation we're having right now is, keeps it as painted with a broad brush, is that someone's interested in spending $50 million to build an apartment complex. first question you should ask yourself is, can we supply the water and sewer? That's the first thing. If you can't do it, they're not gonna invest here. Okay, so you gotta keep all of that stuff in mind when you start talking about what it means for the infrastructure, water and sewer systems as well. That's just a quick little, assessment for you to think about a little bit. Here are the revenues, the water revenues. You'll notice that, the revenues that operate the water department are through the rates, period. Okay? There's no general fund subsidy to it. We're not taking anything from taxes and putting it over to the water department. In fact, it's actually the opposite. We're taking stuff from the water department, putting it into the general fund. But you'll see there that they have investment earnings as well of about $259,000. The operating revenues from the sewer is about equal, but all of those revenues, we're only billing for about 50% of what we're purchasing. We're only billing for about 50% of what we're treating. Therein lies the problem. Okay? So how do we address this? How do we attack this issue? You can keep doing little, but you get the same results, or you attack this head on and try to figure out where all this water is going and how it's getting in there, so that we can reduce the treatment and the volume that we purchase. The only reason I showed the chart is because water and sewer is a usage fee, a consumption rate. You have a flat rate just to be attached to the system. Everybody has to pay into maintaining the system. Then you pay for what you consume. And so that right now, the revenues for the water and sewer estimated at $5,673,226 are roughly half of the general fund budget, just for water and sewer. I took a little thought process and started thinking about applying that to the expenditure side of it, and trying to keep it simple and to wrap our heads around what we're talking about. When we're buying 30 million gallons a month, okay, 30 million gallons a month. So we're buying that at a wholesale rate at approximately 6 cents. And I put on there PWC, we also get some from Orange County, okay? Just trying to keep it simple. So we're buying it at a wholesale rate, but we have to sell it at a retail rate at 13 cents. So we have to sell it for twice as much as we're buying it for to pay for the lines, pay for the maintenance, pay for the operations, pay for the treatment, everything that you do with this water. So, but we're delivering water at about 13 cents per gallon. Hands down, we are beating Walmart. Plus, I don't have to make 30 million trips to Walmart. Just the way of comparison. Doesn't make it right. Just the way to think about it in terms of what we do. And I actually buy water from Walmart. I admit it. The water sewer fund, we did a 17% rate increase in December. You'll note there that section 20% in July 2026. There's the math again about how you have to think about all of these pieces. You got a 2.3% COLA for all employees. You'll notice water and sewer repairs at $230,000, water and sewer capital at $50,000, and water purchase increase at $600,000. That's where the money's going. Okay, it's the purchasing. Where we did the 17% increase, it was an aggressive approach in December to try to do two things: generate $500,000 for fund balance and $500,000 for repairs and maintenance. So collectively, that's $1 million. And you'll see right there where those dollars are going. If we realize a 20% rate increase from PWC in July, that wipes out about half of the revenue generated from the because it's going to eat it up. It's going to be $500,000 instead of $1 million. Simple math. Simple math. But the water and sewer fund currently is balanced. $5,673,226 with revenues and estimated expenditures the same $5,673,226 as required by statute. And The general fund is not borrowing any money from the water and sewer fund. The general fund is not subsidizing the water and sewer fund. It is acting and operating as a business operation where the revenues and expenses have to be in balance with the rates and fees runs the operation. It is a balanced budget. Stormwater, this is probably one that's a little different. You'll notice that it's a $543,000 balanced budget for revenues and expenditures. We are recommending an increase there of $4 ERU to $5 ERU of $1 per month. So it's equivalent to about 12. This is because when it rains, it pours. The water's got to go somewhere. We know where half of it's going, in our sewer systems, right? All of this has to be addressed in terms of how, now that's technically not true. You see what I'm saying? We're not putting stormwater to our sewer pipes, but when it rains, it is getting into our sewer pipes. So that budget is balanced, and we anticipate a couple of things. Some of the highlights for the stormwater is we're also trying to look at hiring a new maintenance tech position. Stormwater has operated forever how many years with one person. One person. And so Deanna has to do the administration, operate the backhoe, dig the ditches, order supplies. You know the story, right? It just doesn't add up. And so there'll be some assistance there, as well as trying to get some capital to support them. You'll see the backhoe, the F-150. They need to be able to dig and fix these pipes and fix these drains. I can tell you how many times we stood in here when someone said the road doesn't drain. The road doesn't drain. Deanna's working on the Golden Leaf project out in Deerfield.
On Wapiti Drive.
Wapiti. So that's an extensive project with stormwater. Sanitation, keep it simple, keep it real. It's balanced at $931,940. The sanitation contracted sales, solid waste fees is $425,000. That's half the budget. $425,000. Interfund transfers is $227,000, and a contingency of about $46,000 by statute. We can't have greater than a 5% contingency in our fund, so we balance the budget as well. So basically what that means is that you're going to be adding about $46,000. Everything goes well to your fund balance and so forth. 5-year CIP. This is one that is of grave concern. We looked at all of our rolling stock, our fleet, to determine when should it be replaced. When the wheels fall off, when it's broke down on the side of the road and we're paying 2 guys to sit there with it, 2 gals or whatever, instead of fixing something. So you're trying to schedule this and have a replacement cycle that makes sense. When there's value in the piece, if you sell it, if you surplus it, as opposed to taking and dropping every piece of value out of it, and then you're not able to do other things. We looked at our entire fleet. None of this that I'm talking about is about weed eaters, blowers, little handheld equipment. Year 1, the 2026 capital replacement program, we're talking about replacing the 7 police cars in the general fund and the 3 vehicles. You'll see them highlighted there in that CIP. That, if I recall, I'm sorry for leaving a blank on that one, but basically it's about borrowing $629,000 to purchase the vehicles. I think we covered that in one of our other meetings. Which brings us to the conversation regarding the general fund debt service. You'll see there that the general fund's total debt service, total payment per year, to include police vehicle leases there. That's what drives it a little bit differently. They had to change that GASB something other, so you got to treat the leases now as debt. You used to not have to do that, but now you do it. So essentially, $403,000 annually is going to service debt. You'll see here the community center across the street, the rec center. couple of fire trucks, Fire Station 2, and the 8 police vehicles. This is also, and will be laid out in the budget workbook as well, ongoing, so everybody will see the debt, what's the terms, what's the payoff, and what is it occur. On the water and sewer fund, you'll see series 2008, 2008. Those are the longest terms we have, but at the end of the day, we're paying out of the water and sewer fund a debt service of $260,647 annually. Now, it's critical to look at it this way in terms of the debt service, because you're able to make some decisions about when to retire debt, when to bring on debt, when to use debt instruments as a tool to bring about change to make infrastructure improvements. So, if we were going to do $80 million worth of repairs, upgrades to our water and sewer system, when we do $80 million of water and sewer repairs or upgrades, you see the distinction there?
Absolutely.
The if and the when. So if I try to cash flow through the rate and fee structure in the business operations, water and sewer fund, $80 million, when right now with 17% rate increase, I'm only looking at about $500,000 a year. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the math is on that, but I don't need to get cash flow. So, 80 million divided by 500,000 a year. How many years is that?
So your grandchildren are dead.
Good luck summary. And so, all at the same time, inflation is eating away at it. The cost of getting something done is eating away at it. So when you look right there and you see the Water Series 2008 and Sewer Series 2008, you'll see that the loan balance on those were respectively about $1 million. And so, and they will finish up, right now the maturity date is June of 47, but the loan balance right now is only $1 million. So how do you use the debt as a tool? How do you start maneuvering, paying one off, bringing one on? This is a prime example of where you could do that at, is in the water sewer fund, more than you could in the general fund. That water and sewer fund debt service is calculated into the water and sewer fund, not the general. Keep in mind, you talk about everything from water and sewer fund debt, the general fund debt. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create what's called financial smoothing and intergenerational equity, so that the balance of those things are paid by all users, not those that have been here, those that are coming here, but all users over time. And you'll note here this little statement at the bottom: replacement demand will outpace available revenue by 2027. That is just a fact that when you look at the CIP, in that you have to have growth to fund your operations next year, the year after that, and the year after that. In other words, find yourself in a hole, quit digging, build a ladder. But right now, and it's bad to say, and I know people don't like to hear it, but your tax base is not going to sustain your operation. That's the bottom line. You got to look at it. So whether it's ad valorem sales tax, your current tax base will not sustain your operations without the growth. It's substantial the growth of that. The spending plan, all the budgets are balanced. It's for a budget total of $16,727,966. Graphic representation. And even though I got there, I need to read the final thing, because I can write it better than I can say it. When I think a little bit. As required by North Carolina General Statutes, the proposed budget is balanced with total revenues equal to total expenditures. I presented a budget that recommends an ad valorem tax rate of 74 1 cents per 100 valuation of the general fund. You've held your public hearing, and one of the things also listed in your budget message is what is known as the revenue neutral number. The revenue neutral number would be 48.79 cents. So when you hear people talking about Cumberland County lowering their tax rate from 79 to 50 something, or like a 24-cent reduction to the revenue neutral number, keep in mind that they're also getting $1.7 billion more in sales tax at Spring Lake Stone. And so we have to be very cognizant of that. Going to the revenue neutral number is nothing more than the end of the town of Spring Lake. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but it'll just be it. You can't go to revenue neutral, period. With that, I presented you a balanced budget with a tax rate of 74.1, and I recommend approval and adoption at your next meeting in July. June 23rd, I'm sorry. Thank you, Robert.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? I now declare this, is that a question, comment? Commissioner Palacios?
Thank you. I just wanted to, for clarity, the water rate increase, we are not increasing water rates.
Not at this time, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? I now declare this public hearing open, and I invite anyone who wants to speak for the budget to come to the podium. Is there anyone here to speak? For. You can actually, this isn't a for or against, you can actually just kind of speak for the budget if you have something to say.
Yes, I have a question. I noticed that the police department.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Juanita Bonds, 1423 Milton Street, Spring Lake. I noticed that the police department, they have, now my understanding from the last meeting, they were gonna lease these cars. Are they now gonna buy them?
Yes,
And why?
because we still have some that are on lease. We've also taken purchase some off the lease. So we're always making a decision to purchase or lease, which gives us a better return. And right now, purchasing gives us a better return than leasing.
Actually cheaper to buy them than it is to lease them.
Because I thought when you talked about the amount of money for leasing, let me see if I have my notes, that it was not, it was more feasible to lease them than to buy them. And last, when you were talking about the budget. But anyway, okay, so that's my concern. And okay, what other funds are you soliciting from the state? Or, I understand the lady who works, the lady in the green, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, she had proposed $1 million grant from somewhere, and I don't hear anything about any of
It was actually 10 million.
Yeah,
I applied for 15 million. They are still in the review process, so we're not gonna know until later in the summer whether they're even gonna consider anything for us.
Okay.
It's the Viable Utilities Grant.
okay. And what about the state? Have you inquired? Are they gonna?
That is with the state.
Oh, it is, okay. I thought it was just a grant you had, looked up. Okay, so that grant might be coming. Are there any other funds that you're soliciting?
We solicit anything that we can. If we can find grant dollars, we aggressively pursue those. But that doesn't mean that we always get them. We were just denied a grant process from called T-Mobile for one of our park facilities. But that's what we pursue all of them that we can.
Okay, so you're already proposing the budget, but if she does get the 10 million or whatever, that will be included also, right?
It would have to be specific for that. That would be restricted. We couldn't spend it on anything else.
Right, right. And it would be for water and sewer.
Yes.
Right, okay, so therefore you don't know exactly, what you're gonna, all the income you will be receiving for the water and sewer yet.
There is no guarantee that we will receive that grant.
Right, but
Okay, so that's the only one that you have applied for, there are no other grants?
Actually, when you hear me talking about AIA, Emerging and Regional Consolidation, that's a grant. We also have a $300,000 grant from the state to do sewer repairs, water and sewer repairs in and around the Mack Street and Regina Street, and $500,000 for that. So we've been actively, this board has been actively pursuing grants.
Okay.
We line up and we get in line and we try to get what we can.
Okay. I just want to know, because that wasn't brought up in, in this meeting, about the budget, so I just want to know. Okay, so you answered about the police. It's a lot of money going into the police department.
Yes.
Why?
The police department and the fire department is what's usually considered labor and capital intensity. It takes both capital, cars, vehicles, as well as people. And so right now, the police department is operating with 4 frozen, unfunded positions from last year. We haven't put those back into play, and we're also still having to look at the purchase of the capital for the equipment. They still got to be operating. They still got to operate. We only have 3 people on patrol, and so 24/7, 365, 3 people on patrol. Each patrol officer has to carry about 9.9 miles.
And how many police officers?
27 total, I think it is.
27
28,
police.
29.
Okay.
But that's the whole police department. That's not just badge officers. And also the administrative staff. Things
Oh,
like that.
okay. Oh, okay. See, that wasn't mentioned before. I thought this was just police officers. Okay, I don't know.
The police only has 1 administrative staff. All the rest of them are qualified police officers.
Oh, okay. Okay, if I had to think of something else, I will address this, board. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Crystal Johnson, 654 Goodyear Drive. I want to get a better understanding of the fire department. How are we still paying for the building and not just the services? Meaning, the services.
Yes, ma'am. Once we enter into a debt for the purchase of that building, we are still having to pay the debt to the tune of about $56,000
$56,000 a year.
$56,000 a year for that building out there. We're planning and talking in discussions about converting that to a public works facility, and then it'll be covered through the public works as opposed to the general fund. We're not going to leave the building empty.
And we I guess the citizens here, do we have any accountability for it? I mean, eventually we're going to use it, but we can't use it for any services. Is it not in our city limits?
It is in the city limits.
Okay.
It is satellite city limits.
Satellite, okay. And when will we see some type of plan? Because the water bills are like $80 and $100, and I understand that because you have to do a lot of fixing. But when can we see some type of plan of what area is going to start on, long term, short term? Because the increase is there.
Right. Forgive me for drawing your attention back to the screen.
Okay.
But that's what this is about.
Okay.
Asset inventory and assessment. This whole process is about identifying projects and the project scope. If you look at Project 1, Odell Road area water line replacement, that's about $4.5 million. Now, that doesn't mean Project 1, it's listed as Project 1, is the highest priority. That's what the budget basically means. We have to prioritize things based on where we're losing the most amount of water, what we're trying to do. I like to take a utilitarian effect, the most bang for the buck for the most people. And so I would rather focus on a 8-inch line that is providing 25% of our population than a 2-inch line that's providing water for 19 people. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And so until I get this completed asset inventory and assessment done, I won't have the final detail.
Okay.
And then we'll have to prioritize those based on what we look at and where it's going.
Yeah, that's my question. Thank you for serving.
Is there anyone else here to speak for the budget or against the budget?
Just to address this lady's question about grant funding, a lot of our grants are not included in the annual budget. This is just our annual expenses. We have a number of grant project orders that are adopted separate from the annual budget for the life of the project. It may take 2 to 3 years to complete a project. So those grant funds are in a separate fund by themselves for the life of the project and are not part of this annual budget. Does that help answer? So we do have a lot of grant funds that are not included in this presentation. Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak for or against the budget?
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Siri likes to jump on my, it happens to me all the time. Is there anyone else to speak for or against the budget? Last call. Anyone to speak for or against the budget? If not, I declare this public hearing closed, and I will now entertain a motion. Oh, no. Yes, we are. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the budget. That's the next one? Oh, sorry. That's what I get for jumping ahead. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we will now move on to new business 9A, our budget amendment, BA 20. Mr. Overton?
You have budget amendment number 20. Most of it, overwhelming majority of this is just to move money around within a department to whatever line item is needed. The one increase in this budget, a couple of months ago, we put out a bid to use our power bill funds to pave several streets within town. We have about $1.5 million in power bill money. We awarded a contract to Highland Paving to spend about $600,000 of that $1.5 million to pave the streets that were on that list. The Highland Paving has agreed to pave an additional street, 3rd Street, which is full of potholes and really needs paving for an additional cost of $104,000. So we're asking to appropriate or add another $104,000 to that contract to pave or resurface 3rd Street. The rest of that's the only increase in the budget. The rest of it is just reclassed within several departments.
Any questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, I was gonna make a motion.
Is there any questions, comments from the board? I'm glad to see this happening. Again, I hear the board saying 3rd Street is definitely needing to be paved. Mr. Manager?
Sorry, Mayor. There's a high likelihood that we'll come back to you with some more, because while we have them under contract, waiting till next year to pave a road is only gonna cost us more money next year.
Right.
While they're here, we got them deployed, we can do some things. There's a high likelihood we'll come back to you with some more budget.
Sounds good. I know the community is glad to hear that we are getting these roads paved. So I will now entertain a motion from the board. Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved.
Is there a second? Commissioner Thompson? I second. Any discussion? Like, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. $100,000 to get more streets paved. All right, our next item on the agenda is the consideration to dissolve the audit committee and policy 40. This committee was established before we took office, and it is, as of right now, not necessary for the work that we're doing, and so we are going to go ahead and entertain a motion to dissolve if the board approves. Commissioner Palacios.
So moved.
Commissioner Chadwick. Any discussion? Commissioner Lackman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, with this audit committee, it was very necessary, especially as a young board as we started out here, to understand the finances that we had or did not have. It has served its purpose. As a board, we have grown more collective. We have a town manager, a finance officer here that's competent in their duties, and so I do support this. Thank you.
Well, all in favor? Aye. The motion carries to dissolve the audit committee. All right. Oh, this is my favorite one. Agenda item 9C, consideration to recess in July, the 2025 board meetings again. Staff and our manager definitely, finance, oh my gosh, they have worked extremely hard. All of our staff have worked extremely hard, the board. And so just to give us a little time off to take a quick pause in the middle of our work, I'm asking that the board allows us to recess for the month of July and resume our meetings in August. Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved.
Commissioner Chadwick.
And I second.
Any discussion? Ooh, no lights. All in favor? Aye.
Nay.
Are you serious? Okay. Well, we've got 4-1. Motion carries.
We don't have any, like, zoning improvements or anything like that.
No, and if necessary, we can always call a special meeting to discuss whatever business of the town that's needed. But this budget has pushed our staff to the limits, so they deserve a well-deserved break. All right, so we are now on to our updates, and I have a few since we were closed last Monday for Memorial Day. So updates on our video shoot. We are doing a video shoot with some of the board members, our police and fire chief, some local businesses and community members to showcase what's happening in our community. So I believe we just did our last video shoot last week, and so I look forward to sharing that with you all. So stay tuned to our social media so that you can get first view of our new showcase or new video. I got a chance to attend the Manchester promotion ceremony for the 5th graders going over to 6th grade right across the street, which warms my heart. So congratulations to all of those newly promoted middle schoolers. And I hope that all of the students enjoy their wonderful summer vacation. We had an amazing Memorial Day ceremony, which I'm sure Commissioner Lackman will tell us a lot more about, but I did want to make sure that I thanked the Military Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee for the outstanding job that they did putting that together. And again, thanks to the staff for making sure that we had an amazing park to celebrate at. The Veterans Park is beautiful, and it was really, really nice to be able to have that celebration there. We also had a chance to meet with our Cumberland County Commissioners for Coffee with the Commissioners, where we just sat and discussed very openly and candidly. It was myself, Commissioner Lackman, Mayor Pro Tem, various members of the community, and came in to just sit and have conversations with our commissioners to address the things that we feel are necessary right here in the town, as well as some issues that are pressing the county-wide. So that came out very, very well. We got a chance to talk about sales tax. We got a chance to talk about 695. We got a chance to talk about 685, excuse me. Multiple issues. Help me out. Some things that we talked about. Quite a few. Parks and Rec was another big thing that we discussed. And speaking of Parks and Rec, Mendoza Park is moving steadily along. Careful, exactly. We have the rubber mulch pads are down. We see some picnic tables are moving around. Today they graded the field, so hopefully that'll get rid of some of those dents and divots out in the field and making the field safer for the kids. And all of our other parks are scheduled to be upgraded as well, but we want to make sure that Mendoza Park is done because the kids are out of school. And so we definitely need that to be completed sometime very soon. I also had the chance to go to Essentials of Economic Development. As you see in our strategic plan, we have our 4 focus areas, and economic development is one of them, and that happens to be my focus area, as well as Commissioner Chapman's. And so I had a chance to attend our Essentials of Economic Development course with the School of Government, and oh my gosh, I have a notebook full of information and things that I'm ready to sit down with our manager and try and make sure that it fits into what we're doing here in the town of Spring Lake. So more to come on that. Hopefully I'll be able to present some sort of baseline of what we can do with economic development here in the coming weeks. Lunch with the mayor is at K-Food on the 24th. I'll be having surgery the following day, so it's just minor, my sinuses. Thank you for your concern, Commissioner Blackman. So that it'll be at K-Food at noon on the 24th. First Friday on May, we are now ramping up for that. So if you're interested in becoming vendors or sponsors, definitely get in touch with the town. So you'll be hearing more about that in the coming weeks as well. And I do want to always remind you that we have an app that is phenomenal for reporting things that you see in the community. If you happen to run across trash or, for example, the power lines, those are things that you can snap a picture of and report right in our app. It'll get to the appropriate departments, and you'll actually be able to monitor and track the progress of it. So if you have not downloaded the Town of Spring Lake app yet, please do so. That is your first line of defense. That is your first line of reporting. That's your way to know that what you've submitted to the town is actually being tracked. So that's all that I have. So I will pass it to Mayor Roseanne.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. One, I did want to mention that Commissioner Faircloth complimented us on having a capital improvement plan, something we have not had in many years. So I did want to mention that. Also, we talked about regionalization. But what I want to say to you all is I need you all to talk to the county commissioners as well, because we shouldn't be the only voices. Every time I meet them, I say we need representation on the county boards, not just one, but every single one. So if you have an interest in serving on a county board, let somebody know or apply. But we need you all to help us be represented, because we can't be in so many places. And also, so on June 17th, I'm going to be attending a Connected Communities webinar. They're going to talk about clean transportation. And they're also going to talk about RPOs, which is regional planning organizations, and MPOs and STIP, because I don't know anything about any of this stuff. I don't know anything she knows, but I don't know anything about it. And when those people are, June 18th, I'll be attending a municipal finance about monthly board reporting. A lot of these are free, and you can register and go see them yourself. If you want to attend them, just let me know. And I think that's all I have.
Commissioner Tucker? The only thing I have is Cops and Conversations, which will be held on 26 June at 6 p.m. right across the street at the Spring Lake Senior Center. If you have any questions, concerns, and recommendations, feel free to come and bring a neighbor. And that's all I have, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Lackman?
Mayor, I got a couple things. One, the Memorial Day event was a fabulous event, probably the largest turnout that we have had in probably ever, or at least a decade that came out there. It was inspiring to hear Dr. Ammons give his recount of different things. But we also had our very own Mayor Anthony that was out there that gave the opening remarks and just kind of gave us insight into the history of her family and the number of members that had served. And so it's good to kind of get a little piece and just hear the different stories and the members on our board that's out there. So yeah, we had about 50 people that showed up, so it was very good. Mr. Roy, town employees, you all built a park. Thank you. Great job. Also on our cleanup, man, it was hot on Saturday. So let me tell you that we had the Delta Company, 2nd of the 82nd Assault Helicopter Battalion. We had Nathan, we had Justin, we had Ngagwe, we had, I hate to say this because I don't want to scare you off, but we got Charles back there. Charles was out there, he outworked them young guys, cleaning up out there on Manchester. By the time we finished, You know, they're riding back in the truck. Charles says, no way. He's walking down the road, finishing the last little bit. We had Commissioner Thompson out there. We had Nicholas that came out and helped, myself. We had 5 town employees. We had Steve Wayne. We had Dominic out there, Anthony Terrell, Dave Schaefer was out there operating. I was surprised we didn't have HR out there operating that heavy equipment. We had 3 rollback dumpsters full. Steve Wayne is scared to give me the total numbers from that, but we're going to be probably 50,000 pounds of debris that was picked up from that illegal dump. And Mr. Roy, I know you don't like to take a lot of credit for things, you like to push it down, but thank you for overseeing this project, providing the man, material, machines to make sure that this was done. So, great job for 12 people out there. It was a good showing. Also, next month in July, we're going to work on having our dedication or rededication of Veterans Park. So, getting with Mr. Rory to set a date on that. Everyone is invited to come out to Veterans Park to the dedication to see the hard work that our employees, our staff, our personnel had done to build this park. So looking forward to showcasing that and having a little plaque out there to dedicate this Veterans Park. So next going up is going to be July 12th. If everything's willing, we're going to go back out to our illegal dump area. And that's all I got for you. Thanks.
Commissioner Blessings?
All right. We have our appearance committee meeting on Wednesday at 4 o'clock at the rec center. Anyone who wants to join us for that. And Dr. Payton, thanks for sticking around today, and congratulations again. The most famous singer that I know is Court Chavis, who you taught, and he knew that you were being honored, and he just wanted to say how awesome you are, and that he loves you, and he owes everything to you. And then Commissioner Faircloth had mentioned the CIP, and but he won't be getting my vote. That's it, I'm done.
Commissioner Chadwick, I don't have any updates at this time, but I do want to send a warm congratulations to Dr. Payton. Phenomenal, great community steward in our Gwinnett community and other places as well. So thank you so much for all you did. Mr. Roy?
Real short, I would like to remind everybody that we will have our first organizational meeting in regards to rolling out the challenge to our impact teams on June 18th right here, 6 o'clock. I'll make sure there's a Little Caesars pizza or something for you, or some snacks or something. But the idea is that each one of those focus areas has a impact team associated with it, so that they can focus. Got a group of people focusing 4 different sections. So the meeting on the 18th is bring all of them at one time. We give a broad overview and then set up additional meetings where we can start moving forward individually as individual groups. So I just want to put that reminder out there, June 18th, here, 6 o'clock, get started, let's get it rolling.
Okay.
And then we will keep moving forward. And that's all I want to talk about.
You deserve a nap. Mr. Porter.
I'll be brief. It is, y'all know I like my loud suits, and it's rare that someone on this board outdresses me, but I've got to commend Commissioner Lackman's shirt. I love it. You gotta tell me you're Taylor. I truly, I'm not being sarcastic. I like that shirt, but I had to give him kudos. But no, blessedly nothing on my front. I will say one last thing. I happen to be looking back through some old files and about my contract, not asking for a raise. This month marks 3 years.
Wow!
Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I hope you continue to get to serve, but I could not believe it had been 3 years.
And wow, yeah, you started with us.
Yeah. I mean, it goes by like that.
It does.
You were such a young man.
Yes. That's great hair. Have more of it.
Phenomenal.
Well, thank you.
Madam, is there anything?
Oh,
No, ma'am. All right. She's a little shocked. I don't call her name very often. Well, thank you all for coming out. This meeting is now adjourned. No closing.